Hey, you guys, I want to introduce you to my friend Angela. She just released her third cookbook. This one is the Big Book of Paleo Cooking, and I absolutely love it. There's 175 recipes. There's 6 weeks worth of menus. So whether you're paleo, autoimmune paleo, allergen friendly, she has a meal plan in here for you. My friend Angela is also a primal health coach. She is a personal trainer. She's the blogger at Mom Eats Paleo, and she also runs the Midwest Primal Health and Wellness. Her other cookbooks are Weight Loss on Paleo, and she also has a kids edition cookbook. So welcome, Angela.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk with you finally.
Yes, we had technical difficulties the last time.
Yeah,
So,
going strong.
so tell everybody your story.
Okay, so about 4 years ago, I started dabbling into the paleo lifestyle. I really didn't know what I was doing at first. All I know was that I was trying to breastfeed, and my son was just having the most horrible issues with my breast milk, with, bad bowel movements, constantly spitting up. I took him to the doctors, and they always were saying you need to switch him to formula. And I kind of was at a cross point in my life where I was extremely unhealthy as it was. So I started making changes to my diet to kind of help alleviate some of his symptoms. So I started removing like grains and sugars, soy, gluten, all that from my diet. And then, so we're about a week in, and things started to improve, not only for him, but for myself. I started seeing like a drastic improvement in my overall well-being. I had more energy. I was sleeping better. I started slowly losing weight. So like the first month, I lost about 10 pounds, and it just slowly just kind of snowballed from there about how I got into paleo.
And so you just sort of happened upon paleo without even realizing that
Yeah,
you were doing paleo.
definitely. I was actually searching for recipes that were free of like grains and dairy and everything. And it was about like almost 2 months in, and it's like this website popped up, said paleo recipes. And I'm like, well, what's paleo? So I'm like Googling paleo and reading all about it. And so for about 2 months, I was like eating paleo and living this paleo lifestyle that I had no idea was actually a real thing.
And so before you were paleo, in your intro in your book, you talk about some of the health challenges that you had before you went paleo. You had issues with infertility, anxiety, depression. You had struggled with weight loss. You chased fad diets, took weight loss supplements, and participated in strenuous exercise. But you always ended up back where you started, only more tired, depressed, and hungrier than before.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think everyone kind of goes through that phase in their life. They see someone, that's doing really good. They're well off, they're losing weight, they're exercising, and you're like, oh, well, what are they doing different from you? And then you start doing what they're doing, but it's not really working for you because everyone's body and the way they, kind of handle things is going to be totally different because our genetic makeup is just completely from you and me. What works for you might not work for me, and vice versa. So, and I think with paleo, it kind of really tailors to kind of everybody. You get rid of the inflammatory foods, you start moving a little bit more, and just overall, you start like eating more nutrient dense foods, not so much those franken foods that are highly processed and, going through the supermarket and just grabbing the cookies. Instead, you're at home making paleo versions of those cookies if you really want to. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will say, like, the better you feel, the more you just naturally want to move. And that's
Yeah.
one of those things I don't think people get.
No, not at all. Even right now with being stuck at home, I've, as paleo as I am and how much I appreciate it, like preach it, it's been kind of a difficult transition, not really being able to leave the house and do our normal activities, but been kind of trying to improvise at home. But I'm more of someone that likes to get out and like exercise and be with the community versus stuck inside. So it's kind of a hard transition for me right now. And I'm trying to kind of get through this little hump in my life.
I think everyone is. So one of the things I love about your book is you start off with some basic lists, like not just the menus, but I love that the first list that you put out there is the things to add, because I feel like so many people get stuck in what they're no longer eating and they tend to ruminate on that. Whereas if you focus on all the things you can add, the others makes it easier for all the other stuff to fall away. You have things to put in your pantry, common cooking swaps, things, say you are missing something, like what do we use in the paleo world to replace that? You have that in this list. And then you have kitchen equipment, resources for people. I mean, like if there were ever, I think, a cookbook for someone who wants to go paleo to start off with, I think this is it. The other thing I love is you have two indices in the back. The one is alphabetical by recipe. And then the other one, I mean, guys, she has, it's brilliant. She has it laid out by ingredient. She has all of her autoimmune paleo recipes together, all the allergen friendly together. And she even has my most favorite, she has easy. So you go to the back in the index and she has all of her easiest recipes right there. Like imagine if all cookbooks did that. Like what made you come up with that idea?
Well, it definitely was probably mostly the publishing company that kind of generated the whole index for me. But upon looking at it, I'm like, wow, this is like super amazing, because a lot of cookbooks, they don't have that. They just have it like by order in alphabetical. So even for me, when I go back to look at some of my recipes and stuff, I'm like, oh, what page is that on? And then I'll just go to the back and look up, a simple ingredient. It's like, oh, okay, so it's probably on this page. And then it's also really nice, for people that are trying to avoid certain things on the paleo diet, like natural sugars or, eggs. Let's say if you have an allergy to it, or on the AIP diet, you can just look up, recipes without eggs or recipes that have natural sugars, and just kind of, flip to the pages that have the recipe you're looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one of the things that I love is you have so many familiar recipes. You have pizza crust, chicken fingers, fish sticks, chicken pot pie, beef stroganoff, which you put with parsnips, which I think are just amazing. I know we talked about this before, but the first time we tried parsnips, it's like, holy wow, like why have I never eaten these in my life? They're so good.
Yep. No, they're delicious. And it's funny because when I first started paleo, I even growing up, I never really ate my fruits and vegetables. If they did, it came from a can. So my, I guess, fruit and vegetable intake was very subpar. But now that I've transitioned and my palate has actually changed, foods that I used to not like, I actually really love now. And parsnips was one of those things where it's just like, what is a parsnip? I've never even heard of it before. And then I go to the store, I buy it, and, I start playing around with it. And it's like, it's almost like, I don't know, one of those vegetables that are kind of like universal, kind of like the sweet potato. I mean, you can roast them, you can puree them, mash them, put them in a dish, it's kind of, I learned to actually really love parsnips.
I've seen them even used in dessert recipes. Like seriously, guys, they're so sweet. I think that's, one of the places people get stuck is, they eat about 5 different vegetables and you think, okay, paleo, like, meat and vegetables, and they get bored of it really easily, but, they're not buying the celery root and the rutabaga and, learning how to make home fries out of jicama and yellow beets. And I mean, there's so many things out there, guys. And Angela's book is great. One of the things I love, like your pork chops that are on the cover, is you just put salt and pepper on them. And honestly, hands down, I think that is like the best way to make a pork chop, just salt and pepper.
Seriously. And that's how I make a lot of my meats too. Of course, there's always room for creativity and, marinades and all that. But when it comes to simple dinners and you want to stay basic during the week, I mean, salt and pepper on your protein, throw it in cast iron, make a vegetable or 2 on the side, and there you go. Like I say in my book, not every meal needs to be a Pinterest creation. It just needs to be a nutrient dense meal that's going to fill you up and provide you the energy you need to actually go about your day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know really anybody that has time to make like a Thanksgiving style dinner every night of the week.
No, I mean, even as a stay-at-home mom, I'm still busy with, my two businesses and all that. And there's some nights where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like cooking at all. So I'll just throw in some vegetables and fry up some meat, and there you go, there's dinner.
I know I actually got to a point one night where my husband, he's like, "Can we have something that's not all together in one pan?"
Yeah, so it's nice to mix it up, and I think also with the meal plans in the front of the book, I mean, even if you're not trying to lose weight or you don't have an allergy or you're not following the AIP diet, it's still a good reference point. You get a little bit of your basic meals, you get a little bit of your more creative meals like the chicken pot pie. That's going to take a little bit more preparation, but there's also a lot of recipes that, you can do within 30 minutes and less for those busy weeknights. And I think that's what makes my cookbook kind of a little bit more well-rounded, because you have your bigger family meals and then you have your simple weeknight meals. So you can kind of pick and choose for the week.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, you have Asian dishes, Jamaican, Korean, Cuban, Mexican, Italian, and you throw things in there like pheasant and, chimichurri ribeye. So for people who want more of like an adult sort of thing, you have
Yep.
that in there too. What I want to know is, where did you get your pheasant?
Actually, our friend went pheasant hunting, and he brought us two birds, and we exchanged some canned goods that we made from our garden over the summer. So we were able to do a little experimenting with the pheasant, which to me it was amazing. I was like, oh, this is awesome, and what I didn't realize is when you shoot a pheasant, the bullet actually explodes in the pheasant. So you'll have like, I'm not a big hunter, so I don't know the correct terms, but there's a bunch of like little beads in there. So when I made the pheasant, I was eating and there was one of the beads in there, and I was like, oh, I hope my kids don't, eat that. But it was actually a really fun experience to experiment with the pheasant.
Yeah, I'll have to try your recipe because my husband shoots pheasant sometime, and all I've ever done is just wrap them in bacon and put them in the oven.
Oh, well, that sounds just as amazing too. And a lot of the recipes like the pheasant and the duck, a lot of them can just be switched out with chicken if you don't have like the means to, get those more like pheasant and duck. Even out here in Wisconsin, it's really hard to come by duck. I had a really hard time trying to find ducks.
Do you ever do any other like exotic things like elk or bison or?
Actually, well, no, not me personally. I have not cooked. If we go out somewhere and they offer it, I definitely try it. My husband's actually wanting to start up a bison farm. So we're hoping someday in the future that can become a reality and we can just kind of live off our land.
That's awesome. That would
Yeah,
be awesome right now, especially.
I know. We bought half of a cow and I'm like, man, too bad that's not one of our bison.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I love is you have, I mean, so often people think, okay, yeah, in the paleo world, like we, try and eat pretty clean, but you have a banana cream pie parfait and you have desserts. And I mean, there's really no stone that you haven't turned over in this cookbook, which I mean, 175 recipes. I mean, there really is a little bit of everything.
There is, and there's a little bit of for everyone in there. I mean, just because someone that's paleo or like even keto, they still like the occasional dessert. They still like the occasional swap out with breakfast. So it's kind of nice to just kind of have a variety of things. And I don't eat out of my cookbook every single night. A lot of times it's just really basic. For breakfast, it's meat and eggs. For dinner, it's like I said, protein and vegetables. And generally that's what we eat. Unless I'm feeling creative, then I'll head to my cookbook and make something a little bit more intense.
That sounds good. How do you find the recipe writing process? Like, do you like it or?
I do. I enjoy it. You start with your ingredients and you get to play around, and you either end up with something really amazing, or you're going to be making something a couple more times than you originally thought you were going to. So it's actually a fun process for me. I get to be creative in a way that I'm not, usually able to during the day.
That's cool. I noticed in your meal plans you typically have like 2 meals a day. Did you naturally find that you just naturally transitioned to just eating twice a day?
Yeah, totally. I would say about 2 years ago, I just kind of was just like eating lunch to eat lunch because, growing up, you ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But around lunchtime, I was finding I wasn't really hungry to eat, and I was just eating to eat. So in the morning, I eat my breakfast, and then I don't eat until I'm hungry again, which is usually around dinner time.
Yeah, I found the same thing. Like when I wake up, like I'm not hungry.
Me
And
either.
so,
Some mornings I don't eat till like 10 or 11. And some mornings I eat at 9. So it's kind of, I just listen to my body, listen to the cues. If it says, hey, Angela, I'm hungry, I'm like, all right, in the kitchen, we're going to cook something up real quick.
yeah, and that's, I think one of the things I don't think people really realize is when you sort of switch over from being grain dependent and carb dependent, that it actually ends up becoming like very cost effective. Because I know initially people sort of have this sticker shock, oh my gosh, like these ingredients are so much more expensive. But with time, you find that you don't need to eat 6 times a day anymore. Like you can honestly get by on 2 like pretty good sized meals, and you actually end up spending less in the store.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, with having two boys, I tend to spend more because they still like to eat their lunch. So I have to factor in their hunger too. So yeah, but we save a lot of money by, just kind of shopping the outer perimeter of the store. You start in produce, you go to the meat, you go to the eggs and dairy, and then, you're out. Kind of avoid the middle shelves, unless I need like something like a staple like tomato sauce or tomato paste or canned coconut cream. Then you'll find me in those aisles. But generally, I just shop the outer perimeters, and it saves me a lot of money. And I find that I am able to spend less but buy more.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's your next cookbook going to be?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I'm just still trying to get over the celebration of this one, really. So I'm kind of just taking it all in. And, my husband asked me that too. He's like, so what's next? And I'm like, I don't know. Just let me bask in this moment for a little bit, and then we'll go from there.
That sounds good. So, is there anything else you want to add?
Let's see. Well, if you are interested in learning more about paleo, you can head on over to my website at momeatspaleo.com, or you can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Pinterest. And yeah, I don't know. I just hope you've, enjoyed my book. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help anyone in need. And that's really about it.
All right, awesome. Well, it was nice chatting with you.
You too.
And I'm so excited about your big book of paleo cooking. There's so many recipes. There are pictures in here, but with so many recipes, I mean, this is
Yeah,
a 275-page book. I mean, if you had a picture for every recipe, that would be huge.
definitely. But if you do want a picture for some of the recipes, you could always make it yourself too.
I love it. So, all right. Well, you take care,
You too.
and I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.